Returning the 188,000 yuan dowry, He Cong took the money to travel around China. This incident caused a huge stir online. Some people hailed him as a pioneer, seeing him as a symbol of male awakening, while others attacked him online. He helplessly asked me why people were criticizing him for taking back his own money. He Cong decided to call off the engagement because of the dowry. In 2022, at the age of 35, He Cong met his 34-year-old girlfriend through a colleague's introduction. After 8 months of dating, He Cong proposed marriage, to which his girlfriend laughed and asked, "Have you got your things ready?" He Cong was born in Inner Mongolia. His grades were average. His salary was average. He lived between dorm and office, spent under 1,000 yuan monthly, saving 160,000 yuan. When it came to marriage, 188,000 yuan was agreed. He Cong used all his savings and borrowed money to make up the amount. 3 weeks later, his girlfriend told him friends and family said 188,000 yuan excluded 5 gold items, needing 30k more. He Cong was devastated. His father had passed away early on, and the family's savings were exhausted on medical expenses. His mother lived with his brother and had no income. He didn't want the bride price to further burden the family. Neither side was willing to compromise, leading to a heated argument over the phone, with the pain of money piercing through their love. Later, they arranged to meet, and He Cong took back the bride price, parting on bad terms. To this day, He Cong still regrets this relationship. He doesn't understand how his once gentle girlfriend and their originally happy life could be disrupted by the bride price. Turned to ashes, he also couldn't understand why ordinary people like them couldn't achieve ordinary happiness. After the breakup, He Cong was disheartened. She said she felt disillusioned, thinking about how after the bride price, they would be buying a house and a car, and then raising children. She thought about how her brother worked tirelessly from dawn till dusk, yet still lived in poverty, and she felt disappointed with everything. In the 35th year of his life, everything seemed to have gone wrong. He Cong, holding the returned bride price, decided to be bold and boarded a train for a long journey. With no destination, no plan, and no time limit, he went to see the Terracotta Army in Lebanon, the Longmen Grottos in Henan, the porcelain of Jingdezhen in Jiangxi, the Leifeng Pagoda in Zhejiang, and the Chaka Salt Lake. He let his mood decide the next stop, turning the 188,000 yuan bride price into beautiful paths beneath his feet. He meticulously recorded every expense of his travels. After 6 months of traveling, He Cong had only spent 30,000 yuan. He came to understand many things and began updating his daily life on short video platforms. Every video started with the phrase "spending money to be a simp is not as good as traveling." He Cong was surprised to find that gender opposition in today's society was so intense, with many people arguing in the comments section of his videos, arguing over who should do the housework, who should take care of the children, and how much the bride price should be. This reminded him of when he once passed by Donglin Temple on Mount Lu and, looking at the glittering Buddha, he cried his heart out. He said that at that time, he didn't know what wish to make, as he had too many questions in his heart regarding marriage, life, and the future. We have been arranged since childhood, with people around us telling us that we must get married, work hard, buy a house, and adhere to these invisible rules of giving bride price and handing over income, which are actually shackles for everyone. Now, after traveling for more than a year, he has almost toured the whole of China and met many people. In August this year, he posted a video saying he was in a relationship and might get married if the opportunity arises, thanking everyone for their support along the way. He still doesn't know how much the bride price should be, but what he does know is that love should have nothing to do with money.
I was born in '88, and last year I started dating a girlfriend. We reached the stage of discussing marriage, but later, because of the bride price, which I thought was too high, we didn't end up getting married. In our area, the bride price is generally 188,000. I saved 168,000 myself and borrowed 20,000 from friends, which took about 4 or 5 years to accumulate. At that time, my job was just an ordinary one, earning about 4 to 5,000 a month. Later, he said he wanted an additional 30,000 for the 5 gold items. I said I couldn't gather that much. The money I had was already borrowed 20,000 from my friends, and now you're asking me to come up with another 30,000. I didn't want to trouble my parents any further over this matter. I said my father passed away. It's been about 8 or 9 years, and now there's only my mum, who has always been with my brother. So at that time, I didn't want to borrow another 30,000 or ask my parents for the money. So I just let it go, I said at the time. Maybe I was a bit stubborn, but I felt that deep down I wasn't particularly panicked. I thought if I were to start a family in the future and needed a house or two, raise a child with this amount of money, I felt there's no future, I can't support a family. Although I knew I could scrape together the 30,000 and get married, when I thought about the future, after getting married, I would spend my whole life at this company. At that time, my job was just average, earning only 4,000 to 5,000, and it felt like there was no hope for the rest of my life. Do you think not getting married would give you hope? Not getting married. Is there hope? It's not that I don't have hope, but what exactly does this hope refer to? I think perhaps choosing a job, or rather choosing a career, is somewhat more liberating. For instance, if I fancy opening a shop or something, I can still use some money to have a fresh start. But if, after getting married and having a mortgage, they have to work every day, in that one position, they must. I have a friend now who said, after getting married and having a child, his wife stays at home to look after the child and doesn't work. He earns 8,000 yuan a month and pays 6,000 yuan for the mortgage. It's quite tight. I also feel that perhaps my own abilities might not be quite enough to bear this future, so I thought, forget it, and decided to take this bit of money and enjoy myself. Since last June, I've been out wandering around. I started from Shanxi, from Jinzhong in Shanxi, then went south to Linfen and on to Henan, like Luoyang. Then went to Hubei, Wuhan in Hubei, Nanchang in Jiangxi, then went to Hangzhou. Also visited Huangshan and Shenzhen, Guangzhou. Also went to Tibet, Chengdu, Chongqing, and such places. Visited about 40 cities. It was quite enjoyable. I think before, when I was younger, I didn't really travel much, so I feel it's quite nice. The time outside is quite good. I never really went to other places. Even for school, I stayed local. So I was very eager to see the outside world. I wanted to go and see Tibet. And actually, when I went, I was very eager and full of anticipation. After visiting, it was all right, but not as overwhelming as I expected. I also went to see a sky burial. It all felt quite ordinary, not as awe-inspiring as described in articles or shown on TV, although the scenery there is indeed quite good. The sky is blue, and the lake water is that kind of emerald green you imagine when thinking about something that cleanses the soul. Of course, you have to experience it. Is it a problem with the scenery or with you? It should be my problem, but I think most people who go there can't really see it either. It didn't quite achieve that soul-stirring effect. Have you been there? I found it quite ordinary. I went to Qinghai Lake, and I felt that the scenery there is indeed very good, much more impressive than places in the mainland, like Hangzhou's West Lake, for example. It's quite beautiful. Qinghai Lake, Shenzhen. Over there in Shanghai, you can really feel the fast pace when you visit. It's just like here in Beijing, which is also a first-tier city. In Shenzhen, when people are taking the metro, they're basically jogging, too busy to read or play on their phones. The pace there is indeed very fast. That's the impression it left on me. Nothing else really. But it did shock me. It made me feel like I couldn't adapt to such a pace. In the future, I don't think I'm suited for there, because I'm more of a laid-back person. So, I stayed there for about 3 or 4 days and then left. It's like when you used to watch the news and see people in Beijing living in Shijiashuang. living in Hebei, they have to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning to secure a parking spot, and then commute to work in Beijing. I imagine they wouldn't be too happy. Actually, if I were to envy anyone, it would be those high school classmates, like the one who became a teacher. They lead an ordinary life, working as a teacher, and now they have 2 children. A simple and good life, financially stable, and a good family. It makes me regret that I didn't study well in high school. Not studying well in high school is what I regret. At that time, the high school I attended was considered a key high school. But back then, computers had just become popular, and I got carried away with playing, and my parents weren't around to supervise me. So on Sundays and such, I would just go and play on the computer. I didn't study well, and I regret it. In high school, we were obsessed with games like Legend, as computers had just come out. I was addicted to playing games. As a result, my studies suffered, and later I got into a second-tier university, where I studied business administration. After graduating, I initially found a job selling alcohol, and also worked for a company selling medical equipment. Anyway, I only worked there for a few months, then I went back to help my family. We managed a fruit shop together, but after a few years, it became difficult to run. Later, through a friend's introduction in Taiwan, I found a job in property management and started working there. Nor have I settled down to work steadily on one thing. How should I put it? Me too. I feel like I've been working steadily as well. Over the past 10 years or so, I haven't just been lying flat, but I've been working when I should. Perhaps the circumstances weren't ideal, and I didn't find a job that suited me. Or I didn't catch the wave of the times, like selling houses or something. I think, on one hand, it might be due to my personality. Yes, my personality is a bit introverted. I'm not very good at expressing myself. But I think my original family has been very supportive of me. It's quite substantial. Perhaps because we came from a rural area, so when I graduated or looked for a job, I felt that sometimes my parents couldn't provide much more advice or support. So even after finishing university, I was still on my own. When I was choosing my university major, it was quite aimless, and the same went for choosing a job. I didn't have a particularly good plan, just saw which company was hiring, and if the salary seemed all right, I'd give it a go. There wasn't a particularly good plan. What about your classmates? What are they doing? Out of the 30 or so people from university, some have become housewives. Some of the men work in factories, and some are selling furniture. It's all quite similar. Some work on construction sites, but generally, there's nothing particularly outstanding. Young people from small towns, when they move to cities, might not fully integrate, which can lead to a certain sense of frustration. There's really no problem. If there is, it's with us personally. This era, this is now. We've just happened to catch this wave of urbanization. Essentially, a large number of rural people are moving into cities. They move into cities, find jobs and such, but they don't have houses. Yet to survive, they must buy one. The era is right. It moves forward relentlessly, but some people always have to be sacrificed. It's impossible to let go. And then everyone signs those things. It's all down to luck, really. At the very least, living healthily is quite good, quite wonderful, especially when you see some disabled people online, or those who are ill, or those who suddenly die in car accidents. Being alive is good. Alive means hope. I want that too. But the conditions aren't met. The financial conditions aren't there. There's nothing I can do. Sometimes I think, indeed, I'm just normal, going to work and all. It's not like I'm lying flat or being lazy. But it can't be resolved. The future. I still need to work hard. Maybe give up for a lifetime. I think there's a long way to go, encouraging myself. I can continue to work hard. Can't come back to the past. For example, when I left home this time, I cried. Because my mum didn't want me to leave, and then I said you have to leave too, and then I cried. Think he hum. Staying by their side, you can't earn money. Going out, still want to give it a try. I can only say leave them behind and go out myself.